Welcome, Agent. So, Ubisoft have just released their Intelligence Annex for the Division 2, and this one is all around PvP. So we've got Dark Zones and we've got Conflict. Now, we've had a lot of this information coming out, but what I thought I'd do is just go through this article because it should explain everything in one very short summary, basically. So if you enjoy this one, drop a like on the video, subscribe for the most dedicated Division YouTuber there is. I think I am. You'd have to let me know by liking the video and leaving a comment down below. And with that said, we're going to get straight into this one. So as I said before, this is about PvP. We've got Dark Zones and Conflict here. And we haven't had an Intelligence Annex, obviously, this month. This is the first one for this month. And we've had them over the last couple of months. So I'm excited to see all of this information. So let's start off with Dark Zones. First on the list is the Dark Zone, or rather Dark Zones. Now, if you haven't seen anything up to this point, there are 3 Dark Zones available within the Division 2. We've got DZ East, South, and West. Now, I don't believe a lot of content creators actually were able to take footage from the west part of the Dark Zone, but if you go to Watch Mixer and go to the Xbox on live stream, they do have about an hour's worth of footage in the west, I believe. So if you want to check that out, you can do. It's just like a different environment, that sort of thing. And it says here you can access them early in the campaign, so you will be introduced to this Dark Zone in the campaign. What you'll do is you'll get entered into the Dark Zone, and it'll just be PVE only, and that way you can kind of get a feel for it. And it'll introduce you to the Dark Zone as well. And I think that's a really good thing to have for the Division 2, because a lot of people didn't play in the Dark Zone in the Division just simply because either they were so far behind or, you know, it worried them. And this is why we've got 3 Dark Zones here. This introduction, I think, is really, really cool. So it says the Dark Zone 2's Dark Zones are PvE VP areas with enemy factions roaming across the areas. Basically, that's the same as the Division 1. And it says here, similar to the Division, our focus in the Dark Zones is to create social interactions between players characterized by tension. So we have implemented a 3-tiered progression system for rogues in the Division 2. So we've got the rogue status, disavowed status, and manhunt status. See, different to the Division 1 where we only had rogue and manhunt, and they offer different things here. So with rogue, this is the first stage or the early stage in the rogue loop, and it's new to the Division 2, and it will focus on theft and greed. So this is not about killing people. If you kill people, you'll be put into this disavowed status. This is if you steal from chests and that sort of thing. So as it says here, to complete new rogue actions, stealing others players' loot, hijacking supply drops, and cutting ropes, to name a few. So obviously cutting ropes in the Division would have meant you were rogue, but in this way, it would have been disavowed. Instead, you'll just get this grey marker now instead of a red marker. Performing any of these actions will toggle your rogue. Here, the ultimate goal is gaining access to the Thieves' Den, a hidden instance that houses vendors only accessible by agents in the rogue state. The entrance location varies and appears when you execute enough rogue agents. After exiting the den, players return to SHD status. If a player kills another player while this is rogue state, they will go disavowed, and that's the next stage. Okay, so rogue is just for theft, petty crimes, that sort of thing. And then if you kill someone, you move on to the disavowed status. So disavowed, it says this stage is the most familiar of fans to the Division. This is exactly what rogue was in the Division 1. Killing player raises the attacking agent's disavowed level, and killing enough players raises the disavowed agent's status to manhunt. Now what I will say is that with rogue status, just generally, I don't think you appear on the map, but in disavowed status you do, so there is a difference there. And then obviously it says SHD agents can eliminate disavowed agents to claim their bounties. So that does confirm we're going to get sort of bounty caches back for killing rogue agents, and I assume you'll get similar being a rogue killing non-rogues as well. Now moving on to manhunt status, and this is the final stage in the rogue loop in which players have to clear their status at a SHT terminal in order to earn their rewards. In the Division 2 you have a choice of 3 random terminals active in the Dark Zone to clear your manhunt status. And that's a massive move, a great move actually, because in the Division 1 the problem was you'd have the terminal, it would flag up, all the other people would know where this terminal is, they'd just go and sit there, and as soon as you got there it'd be 4 versus the entire server. With this one, however, you have a choice of 3 random terminals, but that's not just it. We're just going to continue on here. It says you also have the option to increase notoriety at any terminal, effectively raising your rewards but requiring you to cash out at the next terminal. General terminal areas are visible on the mega map for SHG agents while manhunt is active, but precise terminal locations are only revealed to the manhunt player. So what this means is if you want to go to a terminal you can, but then you can basically like sabotage the terminal, and when you do that it becomes inactive, and then your manhunt status becomes even greater. The risk is even greater because you've only narrowed it down to 2 terminals at that point. And then obviously you go to your next one, and if you're really, really wanting all the smoke, then you will actually you'll get rid of 2 of the terminals and you'll just run to the one. But At that point, it could be basically 4 versus 20. It's up to you. It depends what you want to do. It depends how confident you are in the group that you've got. So it says matchmaking in the Dark Zone area occurs in 2 separate brackets. Now, I didn't know about this, so let's read on. On the one side, players are matched in level brackets 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, and normalized to the same power level. On the other side, all players who have reached world tier are matched together and normalized to the same world tier. For players above the normalized power level, bonus statistics are applied to reward you for your time. We have also altered the Dark Zone matchmaking assignment to help solo players play in the Dark Zones mostly comprised of other solo players. This is not a hard rule, and players are free to roam players inside the Dark Zone. So I assume this just applies to the Dark Zones where the 2 Dark Zones, I think this Dark Zone, well, I was going to say it's Dark Zone East and South, but actually what we've found out is the occupied Dark Zone rotates for the different Dark Zones, so it's not always going to be the West. It might be the South one week, it might be, you know, the East another week. But basically, yeah, so that's what this is all about. It's about matchmaking in those brackets. And I'm not sure, I think this might be different. I think the brackets here might be different to the division. I can't remember. I swear the brackets for the division were different to this. But you'd have to let me know in the comments. I can't quite remember. And of course, world tiers are coming back. So there you go for Dark Zones, really. And if you want to see a complete list of the new features, then you can obviously head on over to the blog. Let's have a quick look on over the blog just quickly and see what we got going on over here. So here we have server capacity, which is, I believe we're having a server of 12 in the Division 2. So every Dark Zone will have players of 12 because the Dark Zone's actually a lot smaller. They're about the size of Dark Zone 1 to 3 in the Division, roughly. We've got perk systems, extractions, normalization, matchmaking, checkpoints, occupied Dark Zones, and there you go. If you want to go check that out, then of course you can do, but we're going to move on into the Intelligent Annex here. So Conflict. So Conflict is the name of the new PvP in the Division 2. I'm sure you all know that. And this is what I'm most excited for, because I am out and out a PvP player. And this says here, for players who have craved dedicated direct PvP action, they can find it in Conflict, our destination for organised PvP. At its core, this type of PvP creates an opportunity for players to face off in arenas without AI complicating their engagements. That always annoyed me with the Division in the Dark Zone was the AI. I actually thought we'd be getting a PvP Dark Zone in the Division 2 without AI. I thought it would just be PvP alone, but obviously we're not getting that. But I don't mind. I actually love PvP, so I'll just go and play that instead of in the Dark Zone. Of course, if you want the PvE aspect as well, you just play in the Dark Zone. It says here, players queue into 2 organised PvP modes, Skirmish and Domination. Now this is, actually let's just read on, because I'm sure Team Deathmatch is part of this as well. Skirmish is returning in Division 2, but the mode has been reworked to create a more tactical based experience. In this 4v4 Team Deathmatch mode, characterised by short-term limits and fast-paced gameplay, each team has a limited number of reinforcements. So in an original video I did a couple of, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before, I said there was Skirmish, Team Deathmatch and Domination, but it appears that's wrong. I think Skirmish is Team Deathmatch effectively, which is what I thought actually, and then we've got Domination, so I think it's just going to be Skirmish and Domination we're getting within the Division 2. We'll read on and see, but I think that's what this is basically saying. And it says here, reinforcements serve as a time life pool that deplete with each respawn. Once a team's reinforcement deplete, they enter an elimination phase. Once a player is eliminated, they are out of the game. So this is basically the same as Skirmish, and ultimately if you want to win, you have to revive your team members and get as many kills as possible, or at least even if you have to get as many down, no, you have to get kills, because if you down someone that can be revived, you have to get kills at the end of the day. So it says, at the launch of the Division 2, we are excited to introduce our unique take on the classic PvP game mode, Domination. Now this is the most exciting thing for me. Domination is where it's at for me. I absolutely love Domination, and I like killing people, as bad as that sounds, in video games, of course. But I also like working as a group and taking points. So this is going to be my go-to game mode. It says, first, the free objective airdrop into the map shortly after the match begins in order to give teams a chance to fight for control of the objective area before it becomes active. This is standard Domination. I don't think we're seeing anything unique here. I think this is just standard Domination. So in addition to passively capturing while in a position around the objective, players have the ability to active capture using an interactable on the objectives themselves. Complete this to interact while instantly flip the objective to your team, but these actions take time. Players are severely exposed by performing these actions, so expect high risk, high reward situations in Domination. So that's a unique take on Domination. So we're going to have to see how that works. I'm not sure entirely how that works at the moment. Moving on, it says both modes do not stop there. We have additional gameplay features that will change the outcome of organised PvP matches if used efficiently. Efficiently. Boosts are available in both Skirmish and Domination. These are pre-placed supply crates that reward random team bonuses when activated. So this is Last Stand. I mean, this is what we had in Last Stand, and they're actually going to be included within Skirmish and Domination. So again, I quite like the whole the whole activating boost for your teams within Last Stand, I thought was good. And this is going to be on much smaller maps. So instead of kind of like the people, you might have one person just running around trying to get all this stuff, but ultimately you're going to have to pick and choose when the right time to do it is, because otherwise you're going to get swarmed and it won't be worth it. And I think I'm glad that they've included this within the Division 2. Examples include extra armor or extra damage for a limited time. And extra armor is very important. Armor in the Division 2, guys, is so important. If you lose your armor, you are pretty much one shot. So I think armor is going to play a massive part in the Division 2, as it did in the Division when it first came out. Supply drops are also being implemented into endgame organised PvP, and those provide specialisation ammo. So that's, again, another feature that I didn't expect to be coming. Players receive announcements that supply drops are inbound, and these land on the map. Proceed with caution as specialisation ammo drops if a player is killed while in possession of it. So this is like heavy ammo from Destiny, basically, in many ways. So with this, though, it's a supply drop that comes in. Obviously, with Destiny, it's somewhat on the wall. But that's what this is. It gives you that special ammo that's going to, you know, if you get it, it's going to be massive. It's going to give you a massive advantage over a team that doesn't have it. Because I imagine the specialization weapons are going to be really, really strong. So that's what that's all about. For the first time in the Division, Conflict will feature bespoke maps designed specifically for great PvP-focused gameplay. This, again, is awesome. Because obviously, with the Division, we just got the maps that we already had. And they just kind of just made... Well, we had, obviously, the Last Stand map, we had the Dark Zone and stuff, and they just made stuff out of it. This has bespoke maps, so we're going to see what those are. It says these arenas are grounded and inspired by Washington D.C, but they are not a one-to-one visual representation, as we did with the, as they've done with the actual campaign map, as we didn't know what to sacrifice PvP balance for authenticity. That's perfect, and I'm really glad they made that move, because that's important. And these are the areas that we've got. We've got Capital Ruins. Players will compete for control of this forest environment. We've got Stadium. Players fight in the urban streets and parking lots outside of baseball stadium. That's cool. And then we've got Georgetown. Players battle for control over rooftop perches in this residential area covered in yellow powder contaminants. Again, that sounds really, really cool. That sounds like really sort of close quarters. The urban streets one, probably less so. And the forest one is probably going to have quite a lot of... sort of long lines of sight, but I think Georgetown will be a lot more close battle, so I think something like a shield become important there, or something like that. So really looking forward to those. Now moving on, it says matchmaking for organised PvP also occurs in 2 separate brackets. In one bracket, all players who have not reached world tier and began endgame are matched together and normalised to the same power level. In the other bracket, all players who have reached world tier are matched together or normalised in the same world tier. While normalisation is active to reduce the peaks and valleys between players with high survivability and high damage output in organised PvP, minor stat advantages will still be available to players who put their hours into their builds. So what I've realised from all of this, from all the gear and all the stuff that I've seen so far, is that the differences in gear builds and stuff, there's going to be a lot of variety of gear builds, but the differences are going to be minor. They're going to be minor changes. It's not going to be like 10k stamina compared to sort of, you know, 1k stamina, for example. It's going to be very minor differences that will give you a slight advantage if you have a better build or better stats than someone else, but it's not going to be crazy. It's not going to be the Division, basically, is what this is all about. So really, really glad to hear that. So skill-based matchmaking based on many factors such as wins and losses also plays a role in organised PvP matchmaking. I don't know if I'm not sure about that. I don't like the idea of skill-based matchmaking, to be honest, because I think it takes away from a lot of the fun. I don't want to have to go into every map and be sweating, you know. I don't have to get my G Fuel out, my sweatband on. I don't want any of that stuff. A lot of times I go in to PvP just to sort of relax, if that makes sense. I'm not sure what I think about that. We'll have to wait and see. When completing matches, players increase a PvP level that exists separately from Dark Zone, an overall character level as well. So, yep, we knew about that as well, so that's cool. And it says, to wrap things up, we are happy to announce that separate balances in effect for PvE and PvP mode. Awesome. People are going to be so happy with that. Separate balancing for PvE and PvP is something people wanted in the Division. It's something that, if they had in the Division might have been a lot more balanced, so to say. So I'm really glad that they've taken that on board, and this is going to be something in the Division 2. This is probably the best news I could have asked for. This really is probably the best news I could have asked for out of this. Skills and talents in organised PvP, for example, will have normalised versions that have different statistics than their PvE counterparts. In the Division 2, we want to keep PvP competitive and healthy without negatively impacting players who enjoy PvE. That's so awesome. All the PvE players are going to be very happy. All the PvP players are going to be very happy. And that's the best news I could have asked for. And that's really the end of it, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know in the comments below what your favourite part of this whole Intelligent Annex is. For me, the idea that they're going to be balancing PvP and PvE separately is a game changer. It really is. And I really love what they're doing with the PvP aspect of this by having supply crates and giving you that sort of specialization ammo and all that sort of stuff. So really, really happy. Anyway, thanks for watching, and until the next one, Epic out.